So I had a query about simplifying square root or radical expressions. Key rule here is going to be that root A times root B equals root AB. So for example, the square root of 9 times the square root of 16 is the same as the square root of 9 times 16. 9 times 16 is 144, so it's the same as the square root of 144. You can see that that's true because square root of 9 is 3, square root of 16 is 4, square root of 144 is 12, and 3 times 4 equals 12. So that's our key kind of mathematical fact that's going to get us through this. And the first question I was asked about was the square root of 8 plus the square root of 18. Now I happen to spot that 8 is the same as 4 times 2, so that's the same as the square root of 4 times the square root of 2, and 18 is 9 times 2, so that's the same as the square root of 9 times the square root of 2, because 9 times 2 is 18. 4 happens to be a square number, so the square root of 4 works out nicely to 2, so that's the same as 2 times the square root of 2, and square root of 9 happens to be exactly 3, because 9 is a square number, so that comes out to be 3 times the square root of 2. So you've got 2 times the square root of 2 plus another 3 times the square root of 2 makes 5 times the square root of 2 altogether. Now what you might ask yourself here is, how can I, that's the final answer by the way, 5 root 2, how can I spot nice square numbers that these happen to contain as factors? Well, you don't necessarily have to, because you can break the whole thing down completely. So I could have broken down into, I could have broken 8 down into, all the way down to 2 times 2 times 2, as far as I can break it down. So 8 is root 2 times root 2 times root 2, because 2 times 2 times 2 makes 8. And then root 18. So 18 is 2 times 9. 9 is 3 times 3. So I could have broken it all the way down into those components. And then I could have spotted the pairs. So root 2 times root 2 is 2, because that's what a square root does. Root 3 times root 3 is 3, because that's what a square root does. So that is the same as 2 root 2 plus 3 root 2, 5 root 2, do it that way. Okay, and then the other question was root 80 minus root 45. So root 80 minus root 45. So I spot that 80 is 16 times 5, so that's the same as root 16 times root 5, and then 16 is a nice square number, so that's the same as 4 root 5. But if I hadn't spotted that, then I could have just broken it all the way down. 80 is 2 times 40, 40 is 2 times 20, 20 is 2 times 10, 10 is 2 times 5. So I could have broken it down all the way into the prime factors. Root 2 times root 2 times root 2 times root 2 times 5. And then I could have spotted that these pair off. Root 2 times root 2 is just 2. Another root 2 times another root 2 is just 2. So that is the same as 2 times root 5, which is 4 root 5. Okay, minus. So I spot that 45 is 9 times 5. So root 45 is the same as root 9 times root 5. And then that's the same as root 9 is nicely 3. So that's the same as 3 root 5. So 4 square roots of 5 minus 3 square roots of 5 just makes one single square root of 5. So the answer is root 5. And Ellen says hello.
Hi. Whoa.
End of video.